Hi everyone, welcome to IE channel. My name is TS and today I'm going to show you how to install EveNG. Before we crack on, I would like to walk you through the agenda. I will explain what is EveNG and the purpose behind it and the overview of what we are aiming to accomplish during the installation and setup process. I will discuss the minimum hardware to run EveNG. I will also walk you through the steps on how you can download the tool and install it step by step. We will then apply some initial configurations and I will show you how you can add network devices images such as Cisco, Fortinet, and Juniper. Finally, we will create a quick lab together and try to access the console of the device and run some commands. So, EFNG stands for Emulated Virtual Environment Next Generation, and it is a powerful tool that allows you to emulate network devices such as routers, switches, computers, with the flexibility of having multi vendor devices. In this video, we will go through all the system requirements and start installing the software via VMware Workstation. The key feature of EveNG is the fact that it emulates devices which mimics the real hardware. It allows you to create a lab where you can add or modify or even edit device configurations. EveNG is also scalable depending on your hardware specs. It also has the ability to integrate with real network equipment, which allows for hybrid virtual physical lab setup. This will reduce cost for students who wants to learn new technologies or network engineers that would like to test various configurations to prove the concept or for testing purposes in general. So EVNG can be installed on multiple virtualization platform such as VirtualBox or VMware or ESXi host or even bare metal servers. So before we begin the installation process, we need to understand the system requirements. So I'm going to cover this now, and then I will follow with downloading EveNG and starting the installation process. So the minimum hardware requirements are three main components. These are the dual-core CPU that supports virtualization technology, such as VTX and AMD V. The minimum RAM that is required is 8 gig. However, 16 gig or 16 plus gig is recommended, and at least 40 gig of free disk space. Also, a solid state drive is recommended for better performance. In terms of operating system, as mentioned earlier, EFNG can be installed on various host operating system, including Windows, Linux, and VMware A6i host. But please ensure that your host OS is compatible with your chosen virtualization platform. Last but not least, a web browser to access the GUI where you create or modify labs and manage the EveNG server. Enough of that already, and now let's move on. All right. To download EveNG, open up a web browser and type EveNG in the search engine of your choice, and then you should be able to see eve-ng.net as one of the options. So if you click on that one to proceed to the next page, you can see that EveNG offers both a free and a paid version, known as the professional edition. Whilst the professional editions includes additional features, they may not be particularly relevant for our current objectives. So for our purposes, we are currently going to install the community edition, which is a free version. That is all what we need for now. So if you want to do that, then you can go to the download option from the top of the menu, as you can see on the screen, and then we have multiple options here. And what I'll do, I will click on the free EVE NG Community Edition. And now we have two different methods of installing the software. We can download the file as an ISO file or as an OVF file. OVF stands for Open Virtualization File, and I would personally recommend OVF VM download since it is easier to install and the process is much more smoother. So I will go ahead and download the image, and you can see that we have three different sources where we can choose from. So I will pick the Google Mirror and wait for the file to be downloaded. So we've got the Google Mirror, we've got the Mega Mirror, and we've got the Sync Mirror. I will try the Google Mirror, and if the link didn't work, then I will try a different link. So here we go. And whilst it's downloading, I'll pause the video and I'll be right back. Right, guys. So once the file has been downloaded, what you can do, you can try to open up the folder where the file's been downloaded to. So as you can see, the file being downloaded is a zip file, which means you would have to extract all the files into the desired path or directory. So to do that, you just need to right click on the zip file, and you've got two options. The first one is extract all, and that will obviously give you the choice of where you want it to be extracted to. Or if you've got 7 dash zip application, you can click on it and then you can click one of the options here, extract here or extract files, and then you'll be able to pick the location which is desired by yourself. So I already done that, and you can see here the folder is good to go. If I go inside the folder, I can see that I've got 3 files, and the main file that I'm interested in is the OVF file. At this point, I am ready to go with the installation process. So what I'll do, I will open up VMware Workstation. And from there, we have two options. The first one is we could go ahead and click the open a virtual machine option, or from the top left menu I can go to file and then I can go to open, and that literally will give me the same result. I then need to browse to the OVF file and click on it and then click open. And at this point, I can give the virtual machine a desired name that suits your requirements. In my case, I will just call it if ng dash just one. Also, you should be able to browse or select the desired path where you want your virtual machine files to be stored. So, for instance, if you don't have enough space in your C drive and you've got a lot of space in a lot of storage in your D drive, then you can change the directory from here. And then once you're ready, you can go ahead and then import the OVF file. So that can take a few minutes. So again, I will pause the video, and once that is complete, I will come back. Now the VM is imported, and we can go ahead and edit the settings from this option here. So if you want, under memory settings, you can increase the amount of RAM. It depends on your hardware specifications. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to actually increase it to 16. In terms of the processes, I'm also going to increase that. So the number of processes currently is set to 4, and the number of cores per processes, I will increase that to 4 or 3. I will also increase the hard disk. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to expand that hard disk from 60 to 120. So pretty much the double. So I'm going to click expand. Okay, and then at some point you will have to repartition the disk and expand the file systems from within the GIST operating system. That is understandable. Um, as I made the VM gain more storage. I would say yes, that's fine. And then I will leave the network adapter as is, and the rest of the settings as default, and I will click OK. And then at this point, I'm gonna start the virtual machine. So I'm gonna click on the power on this virtual machine. Okay, so as soon as I get the login prompt, so the login credentials would be root, and the password would be eth, just EVE, or lowercase, and then hit enter. And then instantly you go through the initial configuration setup, and is asking you to type the root password. You can just type whatever you would like the password to be, but please try to remember that, because this will be used for future reference. So I'm going to type my new password. I'm going to hit enter. I'll repeat that, and then I will hit enter, and then is asking you for a host name. So I will also call it eve-ng-test1. I will hit enter. I will also keep it as default. Um, at this point, you've got two choices. You can use DHCP, where the virtual machine obtain an IP address from your router or from a DHCP server, or alternatively, you can configure the IP address, the subnet mask, and the default gateway by using the static option. I'm going to leave it as is, using DHCP. And then the NTP server, I don't have an NTP server, but if you do have an NTP server, you can type the IP address there. So I will leave it as default, and I will leave it empty if I'm not going to use it, as it's suggested by the EVE-ng server. And then it's going to be the way I'm going to be connected to the internet is going to be direct connection. Obviously, if you've got different environment setup where you can use proxy, for instance, or you have to authenticate through a proxy, then you can choose one of these options. But in my case, it's going to be direct connection. I'm going to click OK or hit enter, and then the server will reload. And once it's reloaded, I should be able to see the IP address of the virtual machine that is being obtained by the DHCP server. As you can see here, in your case, it will be different. So in my case, the IP address that I need to browse to from a web browser to access the GUI interface, it would be 192.168.1.175. So just to test my credentials, the credentials that I just literally changed, the login details will be root. And then the password is the new password that I've created. And when I hit that, you can see that I'm up logged in successfully now. Right. So what I'm going to be doing now, I'm going to open up a web browser, and I should be able to put the IP address of 192.168.1.175. And this is the login credentials for EVE-ng. So the username for the GUI is different to the CLI. The username here is admin, all lowercase, and the password is also all lowercase, EVE, EVE. Also, I'm going to select the HTML5 console for the time being, and I will click sign in. Now that we've logged in, we are able to create a new lab. In order for you to do that, you can click on that option here from the that menu, as you can see on the screen, add new lab. And when you add that, when you click on that option, you can put a name for your lab. In that case, I'll just call it test one. And also you can specify the version. So anything with an asterisk is required. The rest would be just optional, but it is quite beneficial if you put some descriptions for your lab so that when you have um, loads of different labs, then you should be able to kind of like know which one is which and what is the version for each of the labs, so that you know which one that you're picking. And then once you are happy with the details, you click save. And at this point, guys, you should be able to kind of like start creating topology, where you add devices, and do all the magic and all the stuff that you want to be doing. However, since this is a clean installation, there are no images have been set up, and the only thing that comes with Eve NG by default is a virtual PC, which is very basic VM that allows you to set up an IP address and should be able to connect it to either a router, a switch, um, or to the internet. Yeah. But what I'm going to be covering next is how you can import images into ETH-NG. I am assuming that you will be able to obtain these images from these vendors in question. However, if you have any questions with that regards, or if you are struggling with, on getting those images, please do comment, and I will do my best to get back to you as soon as possible. We are going to start by adding Cisco images, and then we will add Juniper images and then Fortinet. But once you know how to do this with one vendor, you can follow the same procedure to install other images from different vendors. Um, you need to open up a web browser and pick your search engine, and then type ETH-NG Cisco images, and that link should pop up as one of the options. So if you click on this URL, what I'm interested in is the documentation and particularly how to's section. So on the left hand side, you can see all the different Cisco images, Cisco ACS, Cisco ASA, etc., etc. And on the right hand side, you can see the instructions on how you can install these images, which you can obtain from Cisco website, or from different resources. So, before we tackling those instructions, however, we do need to install an FTP application, so that we can transfer files from our local machine to the ETH-NG VM. I will assume that you installed the FTP application now, and we are going to open the application to start transferring the files to the VM. So I will need to get my FileZilla. Here we go. And in there, on the left hand side, what I can do, I can browse to where I've stored all my files. And in here, should be able to see them. And in this field, guys, you just need to put the IP address of the VM and put the CLI credentials, which in that case, it will be root, and then whatever the new password that you've configured. And I think you would have to use port 22 to use SFTP protocol. Otherwise, the connection will be refused and rejected by the server. So put 22 there and then make a quick connect. It will ask you something with the unknown host, and therefore they've got a fingerprint which you have to store. That's fine. I will store it and then I will click OK. And in here, you can see that I am at the root directory level. So what I'll do, I will go one level up. And in here, I would need to go to OPT, opt, and then from there you would need to go to unit lab. And then from there you would need to go to add-ons. And here we've got three different options. So I'm going to tackle the basic Cisco iOS images, which what I have got here. So I'm going to select all of them and I will go to Dynamips and I will start uploading all these files. That can take some time. So again, I'm going to pause the video, and once that is completed, I will presume. All right, guys, you can see that all files have been uploaded successfully. And what I'm going to be doing next, I'm going to go to the IOL folder, and I would go into the bin folder. Um, and then in there, I should be able to kind of like upload the L2 or layer 2 and layer 3 images that I have, as well as some other images for Cisco devices. So again, I will start uploading them and I will pause the video. Right. All images have been uploaded successfully. I'm gonna proceed with the QEMU. So you can see this folder is empty. And inside there, I'm gonna copy all of these images across, and that will take some time. So I'm gonna have to pause the video again, guys. But before I do so, I just wanted to kind of like walk you through some of these images that I have. So I've got some firewalls up there, and then I've got NX OS for Cisco data center devices stuff. I also have got layer 2 and layer 3 routers and a wireless or a virtual wireless LAN controller. And finally, I've got the iOS XR, which mimics, ASR 920 and 9000 or 9K. All right, guys. So I believe at this point, all the Cisco images that I have been uploaded successfully. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to proceed with the next vendor. So I'm going to go with Fortinet, and I will select all these folders and I will upload them. Again, the upload is completed successfully. I will then go to the Juniper next, and I'll upload them. All right, guys. All the files have been uploaded now. And what I'm going to be doing next, I will need to SSH to the server in order for me to issue a command that is part of the instructions, as you can see on the screen here. So I will copy that command and I will need an emulator to be able to access the CLI for the VM in question. So I will put the IP address 192.168.1.175, and then I will use my root or my CLI credentials. In that case, the username is root and my new password. Now I'm in. I will copy or I'll paste the command, and then it will take a few seconds, and now it's completed. And then if I go back to my topology and refresh this page, I should be able to see all the nodes that I have added. You can see that I've got Cisco ASA. I have the Cisco iOS images, all the different types of Cisco, um, Cisco XR, virtual wireless LAN controller, a switch and a router. I've got Fortinet as well, Huawei, and Juniper. Um, yeah. So what I'm going to be doing next is I'm going to just pick one of these images and try to access the CLI. But before we do that, once you picked up the template that you want to use, there are some options that you are able to modify. So, for instance, the number of nodes that you want to add. So you can add from this templates multiple nodes at any given time. So if I wanted two, I can just increase that number to two or five or however many you need. In terms of the name or the prefix, you can call it whatever. I would just call it router one. And if you want to change the icon, you can. The idle PC, I'll leave that as default. If you want to have the best performance, you can try to change it and manipulate the data according to the instructions based on the documents provided by EFNG. If you want to increase the NVRAM or the RAM size, you can go ahead and do that. But I will leave everything as default. Also, if you've got startup configurations, you can select that if you uploaded it in the exported folder. And then once you're happy with everything, you then hit save. And then we've got our router here. So what I'll do at the moment is shut down or switched off. So in order for you to power it on, you would need to right click and then you need to click the start button. Once you clicked the start button, it might take a few seconds. It turns into blue from gray. And then at that point, you can right click again to stop it or wipe the config or even export the config, or if you wanted to even to capture or sniff packets, you can do that. But I will do just click on it and then that should give you the HTML console to the actual device. And as you can see on the screen, we've got the kind of like the output from Cisco image, and this is kind of like the initial configuration. That indicates it's the clean Cisco device that hasn't been configured before, and it asks you if you want to enter the initial configuration dialog, and in that case I'll always say no. And then in order for me to get started, I would need to hit enter and then give it a few seconds, and now I'm in. So if I put enable, I can go to the enable mode, and in there I can go to config terminal where I can change the host name, for instance, and I'll call it router1. So there you have it, folks. This is how you can add images, how you implement them, how you install them, and how you set up various vendors. I do hope that you enjoyed the ride. And if you've got any questions, please comment below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Also, if you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for interesting stuff that is coming up soon as well. And that will also support me moving forward. Thank you all, and peace.